All right, Senator Gatti, if you would, your Senate Bill 33, tell us about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ryan Gatti. I'm here today on Senate Bill 33. Senate Bill 33 solves a problem with the tissue and organs that are the result of an abortion. I know we talked earlier in the previous bill and discussed the importance of when someone passes away, what we do with their remains, because as we all know, human remains are very sacred and sacrosanct. They have been since the beginning of time. What this bill does is very simple. It just says that if you sell baby parts that are the result of an abortion, that you receive a similar penalty as what we talked about earlier, which is if you sell an organ off of any other human. The bill is centered around either a perceived or real notion that doctors who participate in the abortion process sometimes will change the process of the abortion to deliver a full fetus, then dissect that baby and sell its parts to people for research. There's been a lot of controversy on this in the last year. Most of this came up after the end of the last legislative session. So this bill is really to address that problem that a lot of our constituents and citizens throughout the state have. This bill does not affect access to abortion. It doesn't affect funding to anything. It's before your committee because it is a criminal law. You know, and what it specifically says is that you are prohibited from collecting, selling, receiving, transporting fetal organs and body parts that come into your possession as a result of a planned abortion. I believe we have an amendment. Did my aide bring that amendment to you, Mr. Clement? I would like to circulate that at this time while he's passing that out. What the amendment really does is just it adds some of the verbiage that people seem to hide behind, like this is a reimbursement cost, I'm not selling this, or this is just to cover my overhead from getting the mom to sign a waiver or a consent. So we kind of went through the practices that we were concerned about, and we went through every verb or synonym or basically went through the thesaurus and tried to find any verb that equated to the collection, sale, receipt, or transport of organs from a child.
Okay, members, Senator Mills has offered Senate Bill 1121. On the amendment, is there any objection to the amendment?
Sure. You better have a copy of that. Thank you, Senator Barrow. We'll go over the amendment. Thank you, sir. Technically, the amendment on page 1, line 11, after the word money, we inserted including but not limited to fees for storage or handling, any payments for reimbursement, repayments, or compensation. That was added because as people started to read this bill, they realized that some of the verbiage that the industry would use in acquiring and selling these baby parts included the words, this is just a fee for storage. This is just a fee for handling, you know, because it's illegal under our law to sell human body parts. I mean, that is our law. And the gray area that we found and other states are looking at is, okay, we have a criminal law for feticide, which is killing a fetus in a car wreck, or if you stab someone's womb, that you've killed, that's feticide, and there's a penalty for that in Title 14. And we have a crime if you kill a child that's 1 day old. If the child is crying and you're mad at that child, you lose your temper and you give it shaken baby syndrome and it gets a frontal lobe injury, that is murder, and it's first degree because of the age of the child. There's been a lot of talk about this being a gray area because they're saying, hey, when I harvested this, it was fetal tissue. Okay? And now that it's on the table, I can dissect it because I'm just getting rid of fetal tissue. And we're not talking about epithelial cells or stem cells. We're talking about whole hearts, whole lungs, the brain and spine connected, the hypothalamus, the kidneys, and those are being, shipped off for research. So the amendment takes those verbiage into effect.
So you've explained Amendment 1 on 1121 as it relates to money. Go ahead and explain Amendment 2, if you would.
Amendment 2, on line 5 of the amendment, it says that it's on page 2 between lines 2 and 3. Insert the following. The verb receive. Receive includes acquiring any fetal organ or fetal body part or the rights to any fetal organ or body part through an act of donation. And the reason this verbiage was added is after kind of looking through this process and what some of the abortion providers were doing, we didn't want them to hide behind and say, you know what, I didn't actually receive it because it was through an act of donation. Because what they'll do is they'll just change the document that the mom signs when she comes in, And so what this does, we're kind of playing whack-a-mole with this language, which I know that's not a good way to write legislation. But I wanted to make sure that this first draft before the committee at least had all the verbs that were used out in the
field.
Yes, sir.
All right. So he's presented his amendment. Do we have any questions on the amendment? Any questions on the amendment? Senator Colon, you have a question on the amendment?
I do.
All right.
Okay. When you were talking just a minute ago,
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, and welcome to our committee.
Thank you.
You talked about stem cells, and it does not include stem cells.
Well,
You said it verbally that you're not talking about stem cells. You're talking about hard body parts, lungs, organs, that kind of thing. So are you? Can you be in favor of a small amendment that says that this does not relate to stem cells?
well,
And let me tell you why.
yes, ma'am.
We know that there's lots of research going on, like an umbilical cord and the stem cells that's in there. My daughter-in-law actually had had a miscarriage, and she told them it was okay to use the stem cells from that. So are you trying to? You said you weren't, and I just want to make sure that it's clear.
I'm sorry to jump in here on the. Your key language on all parts is resulting from an induced abortion.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And that's different than a DNC. That is different from a.
I understand. I'm a female. You don't have to explain it to
no.
me.
I live with 5 women, so
yeah, but you never had a baby,
No,
so
ma'am.
that doesn't count.
I look like I have, but I haven't.
Okay, so so to get back to Senator Colon.
But even in this, even in legal abortion, if the mother says, "I'd like the stem cells to be used to help cure a disease," or the research that they're doing on it to try to come up with all kinds of, they're using stem cells for lots of things, and so I don't want to talk about all of those things. But if the mother agrees that they can use the stem cells, not any of the other organs, just the stem cells, are you opposed to that?
Well, my initial reaction to that is that there are going to be some situations where there is not an intent to sell the stem cell. The mom wants to use that stem cell from that. I'll just give you an example, and maybe it'll follow the hypothetical you're talking about. Let's say a mom comes in and she has an ectopic pregnancy or a tubal pregnancy, and the doctor says we need to do an abortion or you're going to die. The baby's not in a position in the uterus where it can survive delivery. Well, those are tough questions. I don't think the state should be involved in those situations at all. But let's say she has another child that has some type of disability or impairment that would benefit from a sibling stem cell. That can be taken from the cord blood, based on what I've studied. And I might be wrong. I'm not a doctor.
Yes.
And it might be able to be taken from other organs from family members based on current research. The problem this bill really deals with is that we don't want people benefiting financially from the parts of an aborted fetus. And that's what I'm really after here. I don't think anyone that's read it has a fear about research, good, solid research.
But you said in your words, and I'm using your words, that you weren't talking about stem cells. You were only talking about organs. And so my question is, can we just say stems? Can we use stem cells? Or do you not want that on your bill?
I don't think that we should in any way take a child that has been aborted and benefit in any way from that process. You know, we could in essence create a cottage industry, and the problem we have right now is that, you know, there's an incentive now to have a mom sign a waiver or a donation when she has an abortion. And the
What kind of incentive?
Well, because the provider is able to sell those parts. And they say, well, it's just a handling fee. But we already have some pretty strict laws on the book about selling organs. We have some pretty strict laws that if I want to give you a kidney, I can't sell it to you, you know, as human to human. I have to agree to donate it. Even on the back of your license, you don't get paid any consideration for donating your body to science. You can't. And what this would do is it would form a little crack in the door that that may allow that to proceed. But I understand where you're coming from. I respect that a lot. And I know I said this is not a stem cell issue, but since you brought it up, I mean, those are cells that they could harvest from an aborted fetus, and they wouldn't be using it.
So your position is you would rather them throw that away, even though it could benefit science.
Well, I mean, my preference would be that they give it a proper burial, like we do for other people. But we don't do that with these organs. And I don't think in 1973 when the Supreme Court said this is a woman's choice, I don't think in their wildest dreams that group of 9 men and I think 1 woman were thinking that this is one day going to equate to a financial gain for a doctor and kind of have a cottage industry of where we barter for prices over eating a salad for what you're going to pay me for a kidney and a brain versus what Senator Perry will pay me for a kidney and a brain. And I think that's where we are. So I just hate to leave the door, as a lawyer, I hate to leave a crack in the door because, you know, when you give a pig a pancake, you know what happens. And that's kind of where we are with this. That's kind of how we got started on this slippery slope. And so, and once again, I appreciate the concern and I share it with you. I really do.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I have an amendment.
Okay, his
But-
amendment's on the floor.
I understand.
Okay.
But I'll just let him go ahead and do his amendment and then I'll come back.
Yes, ma'am. Senator Carter, is your question on the amendment that's on the floor, this one here? Okay, Senator Carter.
So, Senator Gatti, I applaud what I think you're trying to do, and I want to make sure that I'm on the same page with you.
Yes, sir.
Is it purely on the sale of? So, to go to the comment that Senator Colon mentions, and STEM research has been very, very successful and very huge. I mean, obviously controversial. People have different issues and opinions on it. But is your issue primarily the sale? What happens in the case of a donation where there is no money exchanged for stem cell research?
I think right now, if you want to donate some of your cells, your stem cells, for research, you can do that.
I mean, as it relates to your bill.
Well, I don't think that we should harvest anything from this child's body. I mean, and that's where we are. So we have all those verbs in there with donation, receiving, transporting, and you know, at the cellular level, that's.
So what happens in the case where there's you just think no matter what the case, no matter the circumstance, no matter if it was the induced abortion was because the mother would die, do you think there's any value to having that the stem cells from this baby that unfortunately could not survive because there was a decision made that either both would die, and you made a decision to save one or the other, and you don't think that those stem cells would be appropriately used to continue life and research going forward in such cases as
Well,
that?
I'll give you an example.
Oh,
Let's
no,
say,
can you please just give me an example on this one?
Yeah, I will.
that I mentioned?
And I'll give you a similar situation, kind of work back to that, because that's an important question. Let's say a mom has a baby, brings it to full term, delivers it on the first day of the 40th week, right on time, and the baby dies. The parents can donate the cornea, the heart, the liver, the lungs, anything they want to do with that child. This bill doesn't affect that at all.
I understand that.
If a mom has a baby at 20 weeks and the baby passes away, she can donate the cornea, whatever transplant process team is there. The parents can make that decision. We're not talking about moms and dads sitting in a room.
And I totally get that. So
Saying, hey,
that's
this-
why my question was more relevant than the answer you gave
Yeah.
me.
So now you're back to someone decides to have an abortion. They're sitting there in the waiting room.
And sometimes it's not a decision. I mean, you know, if someone has to make a decision, if a physician is making a decision where either the mother or the child may die because of an automobile accident or some other
I wouldn't mind that exception.
circumstance.
I wouldn't mind that exception at all.
So in the case of there being an induced abortion because of some other issue,
The health of the mom, the health of the baby.
and you'd be okay with an amendment that allowed those
As
stem
long
cells
as
to still
those
be
organs
used.
are not sold, bartered
I'm
for,
totally in agreement with that.
sent off, or anything of that nature. I think that the bill would tracks that, and I want to allow parents who go through those tough times to be able to work that out between themselves.
Okay, so you'd be amenable to amendment to that?
Yeah, if you'll vote for the bill, I'll do it.
That's a start.
Hey,
We're
I'm
getting-
here
we're
to
getting-
work
we're
with
getting-
you.
We're getting closer.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Senator Carter, Senator White has offered Amendment 1121. We've talked about the amendment quite a bit. I think we all understand the amendment. Is there a motion to move favorable on the amendment by Senator White? Motion to move favorably on the amendment. Is there any objection to the amendment? Seeing no objection to the amendment is adopted. Now I recognize Senator Cologne. She had a amendment she wanted to talk about. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, I was going to offer a friendly amendment as it relates to the stem cells, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to vote against the bill at this
Yes,
time.
ma'am. All right. Senator Carter, are you offering an amendment?
What? I didn't hear Senator Cologne's amendment.
I was going to offer the stem cell, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to vote against it.
All right. Okay, maybe y'all can talk. We have Senator White.
Adopted mine.
Senator White?
Me?
Yes, sir.
You know, as I listen to the discussion, I'll just, some of us have a benefit of history as having been here. I understand Senator Cologne's passion about the stem cells. Probably about 7 or 8 years ago, we had a pharmaceutical company here in Baton Rouge in the incubator that was actually one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And they chose Louisiana to do their research on stem cells, and they were using the umbilical cord stem cells to do their research because of our charity system and stuff. We had a large number of minority stem cells that they wanted to do the research on blood diseases, in particular sickle cell and what's the other one? One of the cancers. Okay, so that's very important research, but I understand this bill and what you're trying to do, because I'm not really in favor of using a baby's parts in an abortion to sell or barter or bring down the cost of your procedure. I understand what you're trying to do, but maybe you can understand from what we went through 7 or 8 years ago, trying to keep that company here when some things that were done that dried up their research, and it wasn't nothing we done. Okay, it was.
I understand.
So.
And I appreciate that, Senator White, and I think that you and I are on the same page, because there's a difference in cord blood from a full-term birth
Right.
versus the stem cells from an aborted fetus.
Right.
Because a lot of people bank their cord blood for future purposes.
And I think that's universally accepted as
yes,
as,
there's
as
no problem
ethical.
with that. There's no
And
problem
use
with
it- right. And there's nothing in your bill that prohibits that, is there?
not at all. I mean, I think if a mom wants to bank her cord blood for a future child, or if she wants to bank it for research for a child she already has, because those stem cells have a high acceptance rate by a sibling, they have no problem with that. This is really geared towards maybe I can
Aborted
sell
fetus
yes,
is what this is
maybe
geared
I
for.
can sell these stem cells and this newly aborted fetus to somebody.
Well,
And-
unfortunately, we have to deal with things like this that we're talking about, whether you're pro-abortion or against it. So I understand, but I just wanted to make sure it didn't prohibit any of the natural-born blood cells from a baby. Okay.
Thank you, and I apologize if I misunderstood you, Senator.
No, I don't know that you misunderstood her, but I just wanted to give you an explanation where she was coming from. That comes from 7 years ago. Okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Senator Gatti, when I read your bill, collect, harvest, sell, receive, or otherwise transfer or acquire a fetal organ or body part, the cord, is that a fetal organ or body part? And that I believe it's probably just as much the mother's as it is the babies. Is that we're having this discussion about whether or not you can harvest the cord blood and the cord cells. I don't see in the definition where that would fall, and I don't really know. So could you?
Sure. What we're after is that the doctors that barter to sell a brain, a spine, a kidney, certain glands, long arm bones, long leg bones, the long bones of the fetus, and then they put those in a box and they ship them off somewhere, and they do research on those body parts. My bill doesn't address the umbilical cord because
It's not a fetal body part.
it's not a fetal body part. I mean, technically, the placenta is a super organ for the baby in utero. So technically, I guess someone could read this to say the placenta is an organ because the placenta performs all the functions for the baby in the womb. So the umbilical cord is just the conduit for oxygen and blood to the baby and nutrients from the mom. So I'm not sure.
All right. Well, I just wasn't sure if it was in your definition or not, and that was some of the discussion that we've had. Senator Mills has a question. Senator Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just kind of want to walk through it one time. What would be an activity right now that you're trying to prevent that legally a DA or someone could not prosecute? Like, let's say somebody does have a clinic, it is an induced abortion, they are selling body parts. What is hindering a DA right now from doing what they need to do? Do they have, is there something within their arsenal right now that is missing, and that's why this bill is out there? I'm trying to figure out is there a need? Are there enough laws in the books right now to prosecute these guys if they're bad characters?
Well, I think for one time you'll hear me say there's a gap in the law that really doesn't cover this. We cover the fact that a grown man or woman cannot sell the organ of their child or their organ to another person. There can't be a sale. You're welcome to donate a kidney, a lung, or whatever is needed. You can do those things. When you die, you can donate on the back of your license any organ you want to donate. You can donate your entire body to science when you pass away. So we have laws on the books that protect those good activities and kind of inhibit those bad activities. The gray area that's in the law that's been brought to my attention is that the abortion is legal. It is legal to take the life of a human baby in the womb. No one ever thought that once that baby is outside of the womb, either all together in different pieces, that someone would sell those parts or get reimbursed for accumulating those parts for a third party. So the gap I see in the law is that if you kill a baby in the womb other than an abortion, that's feticide. That's a crime under Title 14.
Right. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, can you right now sell body parts legally?
Well, they're kind of calling it fetal tissue, or medical waste, and that would be the gray area.
So, from Senator Colom's argument, if a mother wanted to do whatever she wanted to do to store whatever body part, and she's not selling it, but it's for herself or her family or whatever, your bill really doesn't address this because this is just for money, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
Because the way I'm reading it, it just says, no personally mean knowingly and for money.
right.
Which amendment? The one we just... Okay. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess at the end of the day, from just my knowledge is there is a gap in the law. You feel that if somebody is selling these induced body parts, if you have a chemical abortion and you, for some reason you selling it, there's a gap in the law and a DA can't prosecute.
I think that's a fear they really have, you know, and that's, I think the defense would be this right now with criminal law. You have to prove specific intent or general intent. You have to go through that process with the jury. You have to meet a high burden of proof beyond all doubt, and then every noun and verb in the statute can be attacked. And right now, I think there's a small gap, and that gap can be filled in with this bill.
And Senator, if I might just comment, interesting enough, I had prepared a very similar bill, only to discover that Senator Gatti had his much further in the process. So I pulled my bill in order to offer support. I think the question that we need to absolutely understand is the concept or the knowledge of profit. What we're looking at here is the possibility, unless this is corrected, unless it is managed, all of a sudden the human anatomy, the human body, the fetus becomes an item of profit. This was never the intention. If it's research, if it's medical science, for the good of mankind, but not a profit. And what you have the possibility of this literally exploding on the stage as being a high market type of product for profit. So I think, if I might simply add that I think the purpose of the bill is to put some parameters on this. It's something that none of us really enjoy talking about, but the reality is that this bill, I think, gives substance and credence to what I believe is life and the sanctity of life and the importance of protecting it. But in these cases, this is no more or no less than a free enterprise expression of profit unless we deal with this from this perspective. So those were the comments I'd like to make.
Okay, and that's what I was just trying to get at. Not saying anything against your bill, just seeing if there was truly a gap in a prosecution process.
I'll adopt his answer. That was much better.
Okay. Anybody with the DA's Association here? I just was wondering what their thoughts were. Okay.
Thank you.
Still getting used to these buttons.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, you're welcome. Senator Barrow is going to be up next, but I want to point out, Senator Long, thank you for coming to committee, that there's an amendment that I think addresses and changes the bill just a bit as far as the amendment that we've already accepted, which is 1121, page 2, gives an additional definition on receive to include acquiring a fetal organ or fetal body part or the rights to any fetal organ or fetal body part through an act of donation. So it's not just dollars that we're talking about. We're put it in the position of what Senator Gatti wanted to do, and that's been his expression on that. Senator Barrow.
Mr. Chairman, I was just trying to see where we were in the process. And I see that we're still actually looking at the amendments, but at the appropriate time, I'd like to ask that we move as amended, move Senate Bill 33 as amended. I see that we're still moving through the process, but at the appropriate time, I'd like to make that motion.
All right. Thank you, Senator Barrow. Looks like Senator Carter is offering an amendment 11:59. Have we passed out 11:59?
Okay.
11. Okay, I'm sorry. 11:59 has been withdrawn.
Yes.
And 11:61 is being offered.
Ron, you have 1161.
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
Senator.
so take a moment and read it.
I think that's okay. I don't have a problem with those. Research.
All right, members, not a whole lot of words, but it has a real change. So I'm going to let Senator Carter discuss the amendment, and then we'll talk about it some more. Senator Carter, please.
What the amendment calls for is prohibition of, this section shall not apply to activities related to stem cell research or umbilical cord blood. Umbilical cord blood, I think, is what was the issue that Senator Bodie mentioned, and of course, the concern that both myself and Senator Coulon mentioned, and that is the ability to utilize in cases of stem cell research for donation, not sale. We still support your position that these items should not be a matter of sale, but in the case of donation, that this shall not apply in the case of stem cells or umbilical cord blood.
All right. Okay. So, Senator Gatti, Senator Long. Just as you're looking at it, I read the amendment a little bit differently as far as the prohibition of this section shall not apply to activities related to stem cell research. When I read that alongside of 1121, amendment number 2, the profit motive and donation has been removed.
And I agree with you. I see that. So can we clean that up to take out?
Yeah, I
We
wouldn't
can-
be opposed to
and I'm
cleaning
fine
that
with
up.
that.
No,
Because I want to make sure, and you're right, that does not completely address the for-profit part of it.
Right, and I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I agree with it, that if this is a situation where it's health of the mom or the baby, and mom wants to bank the cord blood, or for some reason the doctor is telling her because of the...
Because it may not, the mother
because-
may not be conscious. It may not be an issue where she can make a
Exactly.
decision. There could be those exceptions that I think are applicable to cover this. So if you're fine with that, can we clean that amendment, Mr. Chairman? Or?
Yeah, I would prefer that you get an amendment that we all understand before we vote on it. And so I'm going to start calling up the opposition at this point, and you two could perhaps work on the amendment, and we'll go from 1161 hasn't been offered. It's been taken down. So this time I'm going to call some of the opposition, and I apologize. It's going to be a little bit difficult to talk about the bill in its current form, but I think you have an idea of where it's going. So let's see. I'm looking for who wants to talk. Miss Corrine Green, you haven't checked whether you wish to speak or you're just opposed. Miss Green? All right, I'm going to check. I'm in opposition but don't wish to speak. Let's see here. Oh, Miss Green has 2 cards. All right, Matthew Peterson is opposed, does not wish to speak. Kathleen Harris is opposed, does not wish to speak. Judy Frisch is opposed, does not wish to speak. DeVoe Allen is opposed, does not wish to speak. And Corrine Green is opposed, does not wish to speak. Brandy, do you wish to speak? Brandy, you've turned in a green card and said you'd like to speak.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just came in. For those of you who may or may not know, my life 32 years ago, going on 33, began inside the four walls of Causeway Medical Center in Metairie. My mom was 21 weeks pregnant, saline abortion. Therefore, my body was fully intact. There is no way that anybody sitting on this committee, know me or not, would be okay with, before I was put in the pan, my body parts being harvested to be sold. Human being, aborted or not. Definitely not from a tragic situation of going through being burned alive in the womb. 13 years ago, this Mother's Day, I was put in a situation where I had to have an abortion from being raped. My child's head was decapitated, and ever since these Planned Parenthood videos came out, I've had nightmares thinking that's what happened to her head, that her head was sold. Because 3 years after, I worked as a POC tech in an abortion facility. This happens right here in this city. It happened, and we harvest organs, not umbilical cords, not stem cells, but fetal organs are harvested after an abortion. The women sign the papers, and they are not told anything else. I fully support this bill because if you can be against harvesting body parts of aborted babies, you might as well start chopping me up and selling me to God only knows who for God only knows what. Because I am the face of an aborted child, being that I was one and I've been through one. I don't support it happening to myself, and I don't support it happening to my baby, and I really don't think that it's profitable to sell to anyone else. I fully support this bill because it's a very horrific situation, and while money can be made, it shouldn't be happening on the backs of aborted babies who have no voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. All right, Mr. Gatti. All right. Is there an amendment to distribute, or are y'all working on it? Okay. All right, so we're
2 minutes.
1161 has been withdrawn.
Mr. Chairman, I think the staff has worked out an amendment that takes into consideration Senator Cullum's concerns and Senator Carter's concerns. And
Well, let's getting passed out. We'll give them an opportunity to look at it. Kerry Wiggins. While we're taking a look at it, Kerry's going to come up. He's filled out a card in support and would like to speak. Now, neither of y'all need to move. You just go ahead and stay where you are. Kerry, come over here on the far side, please.
Good evening. Morning. How are y'all this morning? Good to see you, Senator. I did support you in the election. Great to see you. Great to see you. It's good to be here. My name is Kerry Williams. I am Pastor Kerry Williams. I am a pastor. If everybody knows my name, Dr. Charles Otis is my pastor. And I do support this bill 100% because I believe in this bill. And I want to say y'all doing an excellent job. Senators, great job. I don't have nothing bad to say about y'all guys. Y'all doing real good. And I hope that y'all keep it up and support this bill 100%. Thank y'all and may God bless y'all.
Well, thank you for coming down, and we appreciate your prayers. Amendment 1165 has been distributed. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. Mr. Wiggins, 1 second. Senator Barrow?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you for coming down and giving us the testimony, but I also want to also thank you for supporting me. I greatly appreciate that. Good to see you at the Capitol.
Thank you, Senator Barrow. All right, Amendment 1165 has been distributed. It adds a new Part C on page 2 and then redesignates the C to D. Whose amendment is the, Senator Cologne, would you like to talk on your amendment, please?
I think that we've come to an agreement, and it just says that donations for stem cell research and umbilical cord blood.
All right, so Senator Cologne has offered Amendment 1165. Author, do you have any objection to it?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Long?
No, sir.
Okay. 1165 has been offered by Senator Cologne. Is there any objection by the committee? Seeing no objection by the committee, the amendment is adopted. Would you like to close on your bill?
No, I would just like to thank y'all. Now, this is a very touchy subject. It's something that everyone is concerned about on both sides of the fence. And once again, this is not a funding bill. This is not a right to an abortion bill. This is not a pro-choice bill. It's not a pro-life bill. It simply is, what do we do in our criminal law when it comes to this activity? And I think we need to speak clearly as a legislature and let the folks in our state know this is important to us and that we're going to take action on it. I appreciate the amendments, I think, to clarify the bill, and I appreciate the discussion. I would ask for favorable passage of the bill.
All right. You moving?
Yeah, I think Senator Barrow.
All right. Senator Barrow, did you have a motion on this earlier?
Yes, sir, I did. I would like to report to Bill favorable as amended.
Senator Barrow has moved favorable as amended. Any objection? Seeing no objection, the bill will be reported favorably. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.